Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to yet another Cutter Top 10 NBA video. And today we take a look at the top 10 NBA Joe. Bad representation, I know, but if you're listening to the audio, it's like, what is he doing? But yeah, it's the top 10 NBA. That's better. Chokes of all time. As I'm rocking the Raptors number 7 for Kyle Lowry, and not for Kawhi Leonard. Screw that guy. Sorry, that's just how I feel. We're taking a look at the biggest chokes in NBA history, the top 10 and all that. So we're going to see some big moments and all that. And yes, one does have to do with the Toronto Raptors, but not the Raptors choking, the other way around. I couldn't really find 10 super chokes I can think of. So number 10 is the 2019 Bucks Raptors conference finals. Milwaukee had it all. They had Giannis, they had Chris Middleton, they had a few other key pieces. Milwaukee won the first two games of the Eastern Finals against the Raptors on home turf. The Raptors had to fight off Orlando and Philly to get this far. Philly was that big game 7, which Kawhi took the ball a lot in the fourth quarter and shot the basket off, cleaning it 4 times before putting it in, and Kevin Harlan yelling, "Game series, Toronto has won!" That was an amazing moment and all that. But of course, that was, well, even if Kawhi missed, we had overtime, but you never know. Excuse me. Speaking of overtime, game 3 was the key turning point. The Raptors and Bucks had to fight through 2 overtimes in game 3. The Bucks had a couple of chances to ice it and put the Raptors in deep trouble, but the Raptors pulled it together, won game 3, won game 4, and then won in Milwaukee game 5, and then game 6 on a Saturday night. The ACC was wrapping and rolling, and the Raptors crushed the Bucks thanks to Kawhi's shooting and the buckets and all that. And Giannis Antetokounmpo got bit. The Raptors used this momentum to win the NBA Finals. What's even more impressive was that there was actually some personal thing too. The Raptors were down 2 games to none, and Game 3 was on a Sunday night in double overtime, which the Raptors won. Ironically enough, the next day I had a job interview at Sheridan Nurseries, with plants and all that, close to my house. I managed to get the job, work 2 days a week for 5 hours, so 10 hours paid per week and all that for the time being. And then while I was at Sheridan, the Raptors ended up going unofficially 7-2, which was pretty good. I know there were other forces at play too, but whatever. Number 9 is the 2015 conference semis in the West between the Clippers and the Rockets. The LA Clippers were known as one of the terrible franchises, always trading away players before they got hot or drafting pathetically Michael Candy, anyone. And even Sports Illustrated said they were the worst franchise in the world in 2001. The Clippers just couldn't get through to everywhere. And, the Clippers were one of those rare franchises that just couldn't get to a conference finals. It was strange to see with the Clippers, the team had been around since 1970 as the Buffalo Braves before moving to San Diego to become the San Diego Clippers. Then in 1978 and then 1985, they went to LA to become the Clippers. The younger teams like the Orlando Magic, who were born in 1989, they went to an NBA final. The Minnesota Timberwolves went to a conference final in 2004. But anyway, the Clippers beat San Antonio in a game 7 on a last second shot by Blake Griffin. The Clippers then went up 3 games to 1 on the Rockets, and it looked like the Clippers were going to do something that no team had ever done in their franchise history: get to the conference finals. But lo and behold, they choked. They blew 3 straight. They lost game 6 on home turf, if I remember correctly, because the Clippers were the 5 seed. So yeah, the Clippers had a 19-point lead at home in game 6 that could have iced it and gone to face the Golden State Warriors in the conference finals. But nope, they couldn't. It would have been nice to see LA versus Oakland. But yeah, the Clippers choked. And have they ever been to a conference final? I think 2021 or 22 they went to the conference final. I can't remember. But nevertheless, that was not good. Number 8 is the Sixers choke job in 1981 in the conference finals against the Celtics. The Philadelphia 76ers were a very good franchise. Dr. J coming over from the ABA to the Sixers was key piece. They ended up getting Moses Malone, I think, in 1982, was it? But yeah, the Sixers were decent and all that. So anyway, the Sixers would take on the Lakers in the 1980 NBA Finals, which saw the Lakers win in 6 games. Even though Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was injured for Game 6 at the Spectrum in Philly, Magic came in to play center. He was 6'9". It was decent size, and he did his job. And the Lakers ended up being the Sixers for the title. So the Sixers were hoping to get back to the NBA Finals, and of course, in the conference finals, the Western finals saw two teams with 42 wins. The Kansas City Kings, yeah, the Kings were in Kansas City for a little bit before they moved to Sacramento, taking on the Houston Rockets, and Houston won that series. But yeah, whoever won Sixers Celtics would beat up on Houston, they said. Anyway, the Sixers were up 3 games to 1. Well, they were the defending conference champs, so they had all the pressure. But the Celtics proved their worthiness. Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish all worked in tandem, and the Sixers took the 3 games to 1 lead to the Celtics. Celtics would be the 1981 champs. The Sixers would get their turn at the table in 1983, winning the title. So at least it didn't take too long. Number 7 is the massive choke. Well, the choke of the '95 Suns against the Rockets in the conference semifinals. Well, any team against the Rockets also, you could say they choked against the '95 Rockets, because the '95 Rockets went through all 4 of their opponents went through 50 games, 150 games, and the Rockets ended up being the 6th seed in the West, and then sweeping through all those teams. Not sweeping literally, but you know what I mean. Nevertheless, the Rockets' second round series against the Suns was the big one. That the Suns had everything going. They were up 3 games to 1. Charles Barkley was still around. The Suns were trying to get to their second final in 3 years. The Spurs were waiting for whoever won that series. In a Game 7 on NBC with Dick Enberg on the call, Mario Elie put up a fantastic shot. Or was it Greg Gumbel? No, I can't remember. But I think it was Enberg. But anyway, yeah, the Rockets beat the Suns and came back from down 3 games to 1 to take down the Suns. Faced the Spurs, shocked them, and then shocked the Magic. Yeah, you're saying Orlando wasn't that great. Well, they had Shaq, they had Penny, they had some good group. They had Nick Anderson, they had Dennis Scott, they had Horace Grant even. Bet you didn't know that. Anyway, number 6 is the 1997 Heat versus the Knicks in the conference playoffs, in the Eastern playoffs. So the Heat and Knicks were a massive heated rivalry, pun not really intended, but it's kind of there. But yeah, Miami was getting stronger and all that. They were an expansion team from 1988, so they were getting better and better. The Knicks were the established team that was trying to give basketball back to New York, with Patrick Ewing being there too. The Knicks in '94 were agonizingly close to an NBA championship when John Starks missed a three-pointer at the buzzer in Game 6, and then Game 7 he was ice cold, and not in a good way. So yeah, the Heat and Knicks would be battling each other. Larry Johnson was put to the Knicks. Alonzo Mourning for the Heat. There was a massive brawl. It was so bad. Well, Miami was up 3 games to 1. It was so bad that Miami lost players for games 5 and 6, and that kind of ruined the momentum. And the Knicks won that series before the Bulls beat them. So yeah, happens. Number 5 is the 1987 Eastern Finals between the Pistons and Celtics. The Detroit Pistons were coming into their own. They were kind of, yesterday's garbage or yesterday's news in essence. But Detroit got strong. They got Lampier, they got Dumars, they got Rodman, they got Thomas, being bad boys and all that shit. But the Pistons and Celtics would face each other in a tough Eastern final. The Celtics were the defending champs and should have had Len Bias in the lineup, but you know what happened to Len Bias. I don't need to say anything. But the fact of the matter is that Game 5 was big. It was 2-2 the series, and the Pistons were smelling blood in the water. Boston thought they had a ball that deflected off a Detroit player out of bounds, but it was off a Boston player. So anyway, Bill Lambier took it under the basket and needed to flip a shot, maybe to Isaiah Thomas, to hold on, and the Pistons would win. But somehow Larry Bird came out of nowhere. Well, actually, no, it was Isaiah Thomas who had the ball, and he fumbled it, and Bird picked it up for a steal, flipped it to DJ, as in Dennis Johnson, who put it under the basket, put it in the basket with like 1 second left. It was an amazing moment and all that. iconically, like Havlicek stole the ball, but Bird stole the ball. The Celtics won Game 6 and would go on to the finals, losing to the Lakers. Number 4 is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder against the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 Western Finals. OKC was a decent team. Golden State, this was the franchise team that won 73 games and broke the 1996 Bulls record for most wins in the season with 72. Golden State won their final game on the final day, the same day as Kobe's 60 points against the Jazz. But Golden State looked pretty good, and they were trying to go back-to-back Applejacks because 2015 they were the champs, with my man Iguodala being the MVP. Anyway, Golden State were in trouble. They were down 3-1 to the Thunder and all that. So anyway, OKC looked good. Kevin Durant was on that team and all that, and the Thunder were going to give Oklahoma some pride. I mean, after all, they didn't have a pro baseball team, a pro basketball team, a pro football team, or a pro hockey team. So what can you do? So anyway, Golden State somehow came back from 3-1 down to get to the finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. ... You'll find out why. Number 3 is the 2006 NBA Finals between the Mavericks and the Heat. Dallas had a foothold. They had Dirk Nowitzki. They had some other players like Jason Kidd. And Miami had Dwayne Wade, who they picked up from the 2003 draft in one of the most impressive drafts. You know, the one that had Melo, Milicic, LeBron, and Bosh. Yeah, Dwayne Wade there. The Mavs were up 2-0, and Miami had Shaq after the falling out with the Lakers because of Kobe. So anyway, Dallas looked good, up 2-0, trying to give the West their second straight title as a conference. Well, it would have been the second straight final for a Texas team because San Antonio won. Anywho, Mavericks are up 2-0 in the series. They had a 13-point game lead in Game 3, and then D Wade came through. Dallas actually had a chance to win Game 3, but then Josh Howard made it ill-advised timeout, which saw the, Miami made the shots, and then they had to go from the end of the court instead of half court, and that ruined them. The Heat would win 3 more straight, and Shaq proved he could win an NBA title without Kobe. So, yeah, that's the thing. The tables were turned in 2011 as the Heat were up 2-0 and blew it. Like LeBron and company, the big 3 blew it to Dallas. All of them won the next 2. Number 2 is the Seattle Supersonics against the Denver Nuggets in the 94 NBA Finals. Playoffs. You could also say, the Bulls being the 1 seed against the Sixers in 2012, blowing it as the 1 versus 8 seed. But the fact is that the Bulls did not have Derrick Rose. He got injured. And, of course, you could also say San Antonio for blowing it as the 1 seed to the Memphis Grizzlies, who were the 8 seed in 2011. And practically, you could say the Heat in 1999 against the Knicks. Because Miami was 1, New York was 8, and Allen Houston's running jumper with 2 seconds left. But, of course, 99 was actually a shortened season because of a strike. Nevertheless, the Denver Nuggets were a good team and all that. They were number 8. They just were above 500. Dan Izzo led the team well. Denver was not known for things after Alex English had retired and all that. And Doug Lowe left. Seattle, they were good. Number 1, Gary Payton and Sean Kemp were making things happen. Of course, this was the year that MJ wasn't around, so it was up for grabs. And Seattle looked like they were going to win the title and all that. They were the 1 seed. They would take on the Nuggets. They were up 2-0. Of course, this was best of 5, not best of 7. That wouldn't come until 2003. But the fact is that, Seattle looked pretty precious, but Denver got the home fans behind them, winning 2 straight. And then Game 5 in Seattle on NBC with Dick Enberg on the call. The Nuggets and Seattle had to force overtime. Was it Freddie Maxwell hit a 3-pointer? Or Fleming hit a 3-pointer? But anyway, yeah. Somehow, in some way, Mutombo's defense worked out, and Seattle couldn't get shots off. And then, of course, the famous shot of Mutombo embracing the ball after the final buzzer set as Denver sent Seattle home packing. And, one of the great NBA teams in 1994 fell flat. It was amazing. Denver would actually nearly pull off an upset against the Utah Jazz. Was it the Utah Jazz in the conference semis? Yeah, they actually took it to a game seven, but lost. But yeah, the Nuggets were close to really pulling off a Cinderella. And number one by far is the 2016 choke of the Warriors versus the Cavs in the NBA Finals. You thought we would be done with 3-1 series in 2016? Oh, you'd be wrong, boy. As the 2016 season would have another 3-1 comeback, this time in the NBA Finals. Cleveland looked good. They had stomped Toronto in the conference finals. Of course, that was the first year Toronto got to the conference finals. Was 2016. Actually, beforehand, the Raptors hadn't won a playoff series since 2001. But they got to the conference finals. They took out Miami, which was shocking. But yeah, Cleveland and LeBron beat the hell out of them, calling LeBronto. Anywho, so Cleveland was looking for revenge against Golden State because those two teams met in the 2015 finals. But Golden State was up 3-1, so that looked good. As I mentioned last time in my videos about the top 10 draft steals of all time, that Draymond Green actually screwed over the team. Here's why. Golden State was up 3-1. Draymond Green got a innocent technical. No big deal. Like, you're not tossed from the game. But unfortunately, the NBA had a rule that if you picked up so many technical fouls in a thing, that's an automatic 1-game suspension. So Draymond got booted. I think he threw his mouthpiece somewhere, I think, too. So game 5 in Golden State, no Draymond Green. No win for the Warriors. Draymond was back in game 6, so go to Cleveland, win the title in Cleveland just like last time. They didn't do it. And then game 7 at home on Sunday night on ABC with Mike Breen doing the call. Cleveland was trying to end their drought. They had not won a professional sporting title since the 64 Browns. So they were looking to end 52 years of heartache. I wish the Leafs could have done that. Haha. But the fact of the matter is that, it was close late. Curry to Iguodala. Iguodala had a layup, but somehow, in some way, LeBron trailing the plate, swatted the ball away. And the and no points. And then Kyrie with the 3-pointer in the final minute to sink Golden State and to give Cleveland a title. So much so LeBron decided to leave for the Lakers later on. But still, Cleveland got their title. Golden State got egg on their face. And it was weird because, I said Golden State with that 73-9 season. The funny thing is that all 4 major sports with the most wins in the regular season don't have a title. Baseball, it's the 1906 Cubs / 2001 Mariners. They don't have a title. NBA, of course, the 2016 Warriors. NFL, the Patriots going perfecto in the regular season in 2007, but fell in the finals, the Super Bowl. And the NHL, Boston with their 65-win season in 2023, choking that 3-1 series lead to the Florida Panthers. And of course, also 62-win Red Wings and the 62-win Tampa Bay Lightning. They failed to win the Stanley Cup. They failed to even make the Stanley Cup. So it goes to show that sometimes the biggest winners are the biggest losers. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.